is that a lot of these things are paid for and organized, and including a lot of these protests at universities. I think they're doing it on purpose. And I think they're trying to build up a lot of passion. And it's a good test run. If they can weaponize it against Tesla, they can do that with a lot of other things to justify that kind of vandalism and fire and arson and all the chaos and property destruction in these people for being disruptive, and a lot of passion for protest and and then they weaponize it. I really do. I believe that's exactly what they did with the Tesla buildings.
Is Trump allergic to the truth? That's the question on everyone's mind after Joe Rogan's recent Bombshell comments. The podcast king who once defended Trump is now openly criticizing him, saying Trump's behavior has become indefensible. Meanwhile, Whoopi Goldberg had to step in and correct the record about Trump's 2011 visit to The View. Turns out Donnie has been spinning tales again. If you're tired of the lies and want to hear what really happened, this video breaks down both Rogan's criticism and Goldberg's fact check that has Trump supporters fuming.
I've not been a fan of this man's. I don't like how he talks to us. I don't like how he talks to the nation. He's been in New York forever. He's a New York person and been a New York character. That being a character on television is a lot different than being the president of the United States.
Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now, back to the video. For years, Joe Rogan was the guy who'd listen to anyone, even Donald Trump. Whenever Trump did something wild, Rogan would shrug it off or try to see both sides. He was like that friend who always says, maybe he didn't mean it that way, when someone's clearly being a jerk. But something major has shifted in the Rogan universe, and Trump fans aren't going to like it. Remember when Rogan would casually defend Trump on his podcast? He'd say things like, the media twists everything he says, or at least he speaks his mind. Those days are gone, folks. Completely gone. What we're seeing now is a total 180-degree turn that has Trump's team sweating buckets. So what pushed Rogan over the edge? Turns out he's had enough of Trump's attention-seeking behavior. The podcast host has started calling Trump's recent actions exactly what they are: reckless stunts designed purely for headlines rather than any kind of actual leadership. This isn't just a small shift in tone, it's Rogan completely removing his Trump-colored glasses. During recent episodes, you can hear the irritation in Rogan's voice when Trump's name comes up.
31-year-old makeup artist falsely deported to El Salvador prison, lawyer says. Immigration attorney say a gay Venezuelan makeup artist seeking asylum in the U.S. was wrongly detained as a gang member and deported to El Salvador. So again, it's hard to know.
It's hard to know
what's real and what's not real. But if it is real, this is fucking horrible.
But if you think about it, Joe, like I say, if you're rounding up hundreds of people, mistakes are going to get made because everyone's human.
Compassionate people to be on board with you. You can't deport gay hairdressers seeking asylum. That's fucking crazy. And then throw them in an El Salvador prison. That's
not even his country.
Where he once chuckled at Trump's antics, he now sighs with frustration. The transformation is as obvious as Trump's fake tan line. Even when guests bring up something potentially positive about Trump, Rogan steers the conversation toward criticism instead of taking the bait. What's particularly interesting is how Rogan specifically targets Trump's self-serving actions and obsession with controversy. He's basically saying what many have thought but were afraid to say. Trump cares more about being in the spotlight than actually doing the hard work of leadership. It's like Trump is still running a reality show in his head while the rest of us are trying to live in the real world. In one recent podcast, Rogan didn't hold back. He's completely out of touch, he said, visibly annoyed. I used to think there was some method to the madness, but now I'm just seeing the madness. Coming from a guy who's interviewed everyone from Bernie Sanders to Elon Musk with relatively even-handed treatment, this level of criticism speaks volumes.
30-year-old was arrested and physically restrained by immigration officers near her apartment close to Tufts University's Somerville campus, where she was a PhD student. She affiliated with prestigious American universities to be arrested for purported activities related to terrorist organizations amid the Trump administration's immigration crackdown. So what did she say, though? 6 plainclothes officers surrounded, how do you say that name? Ozturk.
Yeah.
As she walked alone, neighborhood surveillance video appears to show the officers did not show their badges until she was restrained, the video shows.
The real bombshell here. Trump has been desperately trying to get on Rogan's show. Yes, you read that right. The former president has actively reached out multiple times, hoping to tap into Rogan's massive audience of 11 million listeners. But here's the kicker. Rogan straight up rejected him. Not once, not twice, but repeatedly. When someone with Trump's ego gets rejected, you know it stings, especially since Rogan's podcast would give him direct access to exactly the demographic he needs. Young men who might actually listen to him without the media filter he's always complaining about. For Trump, this isn't just a missed opportunity, it's a potential campaign disaster. Why the rejection? According to sources close to Rogan, he doesn't want to provide a platform for someone he now views as indefensible. That's a stark contrast to the old Rogan who would give anyone a chance to speak their piece, no matter how controversial. Now he's drawing a line in the sand and Trump is on the wrong side of it. This rejection doesn't exist in isolation. It's part of a growing trend where Trump is losing support from people who previously defended him or at least tolerated his behavior. When even Joe Rogan, the king of let's hear everyone out, decides you're too toxic for his platform, that's a serious problem for your public image.
There's something on that birth certificate that he doesn't like.
Oh my God,
that's a terrible
that
thing
is
to
just
say.
Whoopi, I'm telling you.
He was 3 pounds.
Donnie, I love you. I'm telling
I
you.
love you too. I think that's the biggest pile of dog mess I've heard in ages. I respect Barbara. You know, she said be polite to guests no matter what.
Yes.
And for the most part, I got through. I did it like I do now. And what they did for years, which is why people got up and said, you can't talk to me like this anymore. You can't talk about me like this anymore.
Various influential media figures who once stayed neutral on Trump are now openly questioning his fitness for office. The credibility gap is widening as more people like Rogan decide that enough is enough. Some political analysts are suggesting that this shift in public perception could be the final nail in the coffin for Trump's political comeback. Trump's habit of rewriting history just backfired spectacularly when Whoopi Goldberg pulled out the actual tape of his 2011 View appearance. What happens when the Tell It Like It Is podcast king gets caught spreading Trump's version of events instead of reality? It's a fact-check smackdown that proves nobody's immune to Trump's alternative facts machine. When Joe Rogan recently reminisced about Trump's appearance on The View back in 2011, he painted quite the rosy picture, claiming Trump was warmly welcomed by the hosts. But Whoopi Goldberg wasn't about to let that fairy tale stand. She grabbed the receipts faster than Trump grabs classified documents and set the record straight. Goldberg didn't just disagree with Rogan's cozy characterization, she straight up demolished it. I've not been a fan of this man's. I don't like how he talks to us. I don't like how he talks to the nation, Whoopi declared, making it crystal clear that there was never any love lost between them. Turns out the only reason she was even remotely polite to the Orange Menace was out of respect for her co-host Barbara Walters. That's called professionalism, not enthusiasm. The real kicker came when Whoopi pulled up the actual footage from that 2011 appearance. Remember, this was 4 years before Trump's presidential run announcement, another fact Rogan conveniently messed up. The video shows Whoopi sitting there with a face that screams, "I'd rather be anywhere else," while Barbara Walters introduces Trump. Not exactly the warm bear hug Rogan described, huh? But wait, it gets better.
We have never been asleep. No one's ever let us sleep. Because we've had to keep, because we've had to keep reminding people that women don't want to be spoken down to. Find a different way than to come after people because of their heritage, which they are born into. It is not a choice. You are who you are. Right. Gay folks don't want to be spoken down to. Straight folks don't want to be spoken to. People don't want to be spoken down to. They don't want to be made fun of. Get a better gig. If you're a comic, be funnier.
During that very same appearance, Whoopi actually called Trump out to his face about his ridiculous birther conspiracy theories about President Obama. "Oh my God, that is just the worst thing," she told him directly, and she didn't stop there. Whoopi really let him have it. "Donald, I love you too. I think that's the biggest pile of dog mess I've heard in ages." Bet Rogan forgot to mention that spicy little exchange. Whoopi even pointed out the obvious racial undertones of Trump's Obama birth certificate obsession, telling him, "I've never heard any white president ask to be shown their birth certificate." She flat out called his claims BS right to his face. Some warm welcome that was. This whole episode perfectly captures Trump's playbook. Rewrite history, hope nobody checks the tape, and count on friendly voices to repeat your version. It's like when he claimed there were very fine people on both sides after Charlottesville, or when he insisted his inauguration crowd was the biggest ever despite photographic evidence to the contrary. The man lives in his own reality show, where facts are just inconvenient extras that can be fired at will. What's really telling is how quickly Rogan swallowed Trump's revisionist history without checking. The same guy who built his brand on questioning everything just repeated Trump's fantasy version of events without batting an eye. This is exactly how Trump's disinformation machine works. Get enough people repeating something, and eventually it sounds true. The thing is, Trump's act is wearing thin. When even folks like Whoopi are pulling out video evidence to correct the record, it shows how desperate Team Trump has become to control the narrative. They're not just spinning anymore, they're flat out inventing alternate realities, and people are noticing. That's why Trump's losing defenders left and right. When your lies are so blatant that they can be disproven with a simple video clip, it becomes impossible for anyone with a shred of credibility to stand by you. Even Joe Rogan, who gave everyone a fair shake, has reached his limit. It's one thing to have different political views, it's another to live in a completely different factual universe. When normal tactics fail, Trump's team goes full WWE. Roger Stone, Trump's longtime political hatchet man with a Richard Nixon tattoo on his back, cooked up a plan so ridiculous it sounds like something a middle schooler would suggest. After Trump's repeated rejections from Rogan's podcast, Stone didn't think maybe we should respect Joe's decision. Nope. Instead, he decided the best approach was to challenge a trained martial artist and UFC commentator to a cage match. Because nothing says presidential strategy like a 70-year-old political operative offering to throw hands with a black belt. Stone's brilliant master plan involved publicly trashing Rogan, hoping the podcast host would get so annoyed he'd invite Trump on just to shut everyone up. It's like trying to get invited to someone's party by egging their house. Stone confirmed this wild scheme on InfoWars. Where else? Proudly declaring, "I know I can definitely take him." The confidence of this man. He even described his intense training regimen.
It was the episode of you when you were on The View, and I think it was 2015 or 2006, like when you were running for president. You got introduced as our friend Donald Trump.
That's right.
Whoopi Goldberg gives you a big hug and a kiss. Joy Behar gives you a big hug. Barbara Walters gives you a big hug. They all loved you.
Donald Trump is a billionaire, a real estate mogul, and a television star. But does he really want to add President of the United States to his resume?
Barbara was her usual polite self, as she was with every guest. But did I look?
Hitting the heavy bag for an hour every Saturday. Look out, UFC fighters. Stone's coming for your belts with his Weekend Warrior workout. Even Trump's own people couldn't keep a straight face about Stone's cage match fantasy. One Trump insider was quoted saying, "Roger's pretty old, isn't he? Have to think Rogan would pummel him." When your own team is betting against you, maybe it's time to rethink the strategy. But in Trump world, dignity and reason took a back seat long ago to desperation and spectacle. This bizarre episode reveals something crucial about Trump's approach to media. As one of his advisors admitted, the mere discussion of Donald Trump on a blockbuster podcast like Joe Rogan builds a remarkable audience. Trump isn't interested in substantive conversation. He just wants the spotlight, regardless of how embarrassing the means to get it might be. For a man who built his brand on being a media sensation, being excluded from one of today's most influential platforms must be maddening. The Stone cage match saga exposes the fundamental contrast between Trump and Rogan's approaches. Trump will debase himself for attention, while Rogan maintains principles about who deserves his platform. While Trump sends his senior citizen attack dog to challenge a martial arts expert, Rogan simply continues producing content that millions voluntarily consume. One man desperately chases relevance, the other has it in spades. What makes this rejection especially painful for Trump is just how valuable Rogan's platform is. While traditional media audiences fragment, Rogan consistently delivers 11 million listeners per episode, more than double many primetime cable news shows. These aren't just any listeners either. Rogan's audience includes key demographics Trump desperately needs: young men, independents, and swing voters who might not engage with traditional political media. Every episode without Trump is a missed opportunity to reach these crucial voters. The cage match challenge isn't just a weird footnote, it's a perfect metaphor for Trump's entire approach to public life. When facts don't work, try spectacle. When respect isn't given, try intimidation. When substance fails, try shock value. It's worked for him before, but the Stone Rogan saga suggests the act might finally be wearing thin. So there you have it, folks. Rogan's making it crystal clear with his own words. I don't want to help him. I'm not interested in helping Trump. Period. End of story. This isn't just another celebrity spat. It represents something bigger happening across America. Every day, another former Trump defender steps away from the MAGA circus. The emperor's new clothes are finally being seen for what they are: non-existent. The real question isn't if Trump can charm his way back onto these platforms, but how many more bridges he'll burn before his fan base finally notices he's standing alone. Had enough of the Trump circus? Hit subscribe for more unfiltered truth bombs that'll make Donnie's head spin.